What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, the heart and soul of authentic football fan culture, straight out of Manchester. Welcome to Tuesday Tactical Breakdown, and today we're going to discuss the winger dilemma. We're going to discuss Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Sancho, Antony, maybe Palestra if we've got a little bit of time. Obviously, he's going now, so he's not going to be a part of the winger dilemma. He's solved the winger dilemma by going. But we're going to discuss the rest of the players, how they all fit in this season, how much game time are they going to get, how we can use different ones for tactical setups, a couple of alternatives as well. We're going to discuss Sancho to Chelsea because Laurie Whitwell has put that out in the air. And when Laurie Whitwell puts something out, it's usually well sourced, so that's an interesting thing to discuss with the absolute carnage that's ongoing at Chelsea at the moment. Hannibal to Burnley is something that's ongoing talks. Burnley open talks with the player and the club. Not sure if that's a loan to buy or just straight up cash at the minute. And then Antony's case, I think it was domestic violence case, has been dismissed recently, so we'll kind of breeze over that towards the end. So Shreyas, lovely holiday. Happy to be back, or not happy to be back?
Oh, I'm absolutely happy to be back. I
Oh,
mean, because the problem was the connection on the cruise that I had didn't allow me to stream videos. It only allowed me to hop on Discord. So I had just had to, like when I got off the ship, I used to go to a cafe, get the Wi-Fi, and then stream all the videos and just get on top of stuff once again. But yeah, it's really wanted to be back. Really wanted to watch the stuff again, and yeah, just happy that I can actually watch Premier League football back again.
yeah. Fresh off a flight. You never know. You might see James Sancho on a flight on a one-way ticket to France at the minute. See what I did there. But look, they're the kind of dilemmas that we're going to discuss, because it is an area, almost when you look at it, you're like, right, we've got a decent amount of players there, so we don't have to worry in terms of if someone gets injured. If anything, it's a bonus in a sense, because a player would actually get game time in a weird way. Whereas at the back and in the midfield, that's where you're kind of like, not entirely sure. So, obviously, straight off the bat, we've got Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad, Antony, Sancho, and then you've got kind of alternatives who can play there, but I don't think they'll play much game time there in Mount, Bruno, and potentially Joshua Zirkzee. Now, what I wanted to focus on at first was width and central overload. I thought against Fulham, for example, I thought he was really, really good, looked busy in the middle. Always important to keep that width, but it seemed a little bit, I don't know if you'd agree with this, with that 4-2-2 formation, it seemed a little bit narrow, and a lot of our play was coming centrally. And then when we do get it out to like the wingers, like Rashford or Ahmad, for example, I didn't think they was great in the 1v1 duels. I don't know what you make of that.
I think once again, look, the point was, I think centrally we do look a bit more organized. I think the things look a bit more clearer. It looks a bit more direct, and players actually have a clue as to how they want to operate around the final third. So that's a really good thing to see. The thing is where definitely there are certain question marks is when it comes to stretching the play out, which we've seen last year as well. That Rashford likes to play more. He technically plays as a left forward. He doesn't really play as a traditional winger. So he's not able to stretch the play out. Ahmad has that quality, but I think with the way our fullbacks have actually been starting to operate, like if you saw how wide Mazraoui went in that game, and even Dallo from that left-hand flank as well, they were actually able to stretch the play out quite a bit. And maybe it's something tactical where Ten Hag wants them to be a bit more central. Maybe he wants an extra option within the box itself to create that inline option just to have an overload on the right or from the left. But I think we might see issues regarding this system when we play, come up against team that play a low block. I think when we come, against Fulham, we had a lot of chances which we should definitely have converted. But when you come up against teams like Crystal Palace, when you come up against teams like Brentford's, the teams that are very very compact, they are very very rigid and very very organized at the back. I think that's the area where I would say that things might become a bit more of a hassle, but the way I'm seeing our fullbacks actually operate, I think it might be rectified because for me, the way Mazraoui actually, presented himself in that game from a tactical point of view and from just a technical standpoint as well, he was bang on in that right back position. And Dallo as well, I think he looked decent. He looked quite, he looked quite confident. So maybe it's got something to do with, what team you're coming up against. Maybe, Ten Hag decides to switch up the players which he's playing up with, but you can see that when different players are coming on, our play style of play actually changes. When Zirkzee came on, our style of play definitely changed. With Mount and Bruno being in the same lineup, our style of play is a bit more different. But I think once you get Højlund back, we'll be seeing a bit more, stretching the play out and wide wingers actually, exploiting those spaces in behind. But maybe it's got to do that, you've not got a fit striker right now who's absolutely match fit and raring to go.
That's why I think the wing backs are so important in this and getting a connection, because Majority, for as well as he did, there wasn't that a noticeable connection between him and Ahmad. So obviously they need to work on a partnership. And then if Dallow's going to consistently start on the left-hand side, him and Marcus Rashford need to work on a partnership. But because Dallow is right-footed, that then everything goes centrally, because naturally you just want to cut in on your right, don't you? You're not used to that left foot. But I think also what's going to help with this is the fluid positioning of Bruno and Mount, because they can just, they're that versatile. They can drop in the 8, they can go out on the wing, they can go up top, they can literally do everything across the front line. So having them two in there is great. But like you said, with different tactical like kind of changes, bringing Xerxes into that fold, you then switch up the dynamic so much, because then the wingers go even more narrow. He'll drag players out centrally, and he's got that kind of technique to kind of play through, play players through. Sorry, so I think there's a lot of options. I think fluid is like the key word to use here with a lot of our players, and I said that from the start when we first started signing.
Build up wise, when it comes to building out from the back and actually progressing through the from the midfield line, we've looked, I think, the best we've ever looked, if I have to compare it to last season. And Casemiro is genuinely a big part of it. Menu is genuinely a big part of it. And I would say Mount as well, the way he actually occupies spaces, the late runs that he makes into the boxes, it actually helps out our wingers quite a bit. I think the moment we actually start having our finishing boots on with players like Rashford, I would say Garnacho, and I would even say Bruno, when he gets his finishing boots on, I think we'll be scoring a lot more goals this season.
Yeah, it's just about keeping a front five kind of unpredictable in it, multifaceted, so you can just hit him from any angle. Because what a defender hates is just different players in front of him, like switching it up all the time. If you're a right back and you're like, right, Rashford, you know what he's going to try and do. You got to watch over your shoulder. He's going to make them inverted runs. You got to keep an eye on him. 1v1, it might be a little bit tricky. But then if like Mount comes out on there, it's different. He's going to look for combinations or whoever it is.
Xerxes out there, you put a Xerxes out there, it completely changes.
Completely different challenge. So keeping him on the toes, I think the front five I'm all right with. I'm quite happy with. It's the back end of the pitch that I'm a little bit worried about. But let us know your thoughts and feelings in the chat about the front three. Who would you personally choose? And give me your reasons why. Don't just put the 3 names. Give me your reasons. On these inverted wingers, I just wanted to touch on this, like glaze over it slightly. Ten Hag loves them, doesn't he? He seems to have used them at Ajax. Whether it was, kind of Ziyech or Neres or whoever it was, he's always loved inverted wingers. Ajax had it, United have got it now, obviously with Rashford and Ahmad starting the most recent game. But you've seen Pep, we was kind of touching on it before we went live, with Doku and Slovenia. Switching those over to their comfortable sides, because he started doing, I think Slovenia was on the right, or Doku was on the right, maybe Slovenia was, I can't remember, and then he switched them the other way around because they're more comfortable there. Why do you think it is so many coaches are a fan of inverted wingers and they don't like? Because sometimes I miss that, that kind of crossing element, like a pure just put it into the box, let Højlund jump onto it, and that's why Pellistri was quite refreshing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look, over the years, I think that winger position has had a bit of a revolution. I think even managers now, I hardly see a manager that wants that traditional sort of a winger, who takes on the defender, beats the defender, and just goes in for the cross and tries to find the striker. I think even managers now want that directness from their wingers. They want their wingers to be, I would say, more attacking, and I would say much more inclined to actually cutting inside and then going for a shot. And if you have to compare it to players that we've seen before, players like Beckham, players like Kaká as well, they're the sort of players who like to ping balls back, back into the box and actually finding players in the box. So we've also seen that over the years football has changed. Football changes, I would say, every 4 years.
Yeah.
The
well, Pep does more to the point.
Yeah, Pep most of the time for sure, but we see playing out from the back. Goalkeepers actually having as much of a role in actually building out the play. We never actually thought that it would even happen, but it has happened. Maybe 5 years from now, things actually start up in a different direction, and we are seeing a different style of play. But I think as things stand right now, I think wingers are a lot more predictable. Even the top ones out there, I would even say Vinicius for that matter. They all of those guys, their play is quite predictable. They're very tricky wingers to actually come up against, but their play is quite predictable as to what they're going to be going for when you step up against them on the pitch. When you had players like Hazard, when you had players like Neymar, they used to give you head scratches because you just didn't know what they're going to be doing. I think Salah is the last of the batch. Where you come up against him and you genuinely don't know whether he'll be taking the ball out wide, whether he'll be cutting inside, and all these players actually had the quality to just go for a goal no matter where they actually had the ball. So we just don't know. Maybe in a few years' time, that sort of I would say trickery and that sort of unpredictableness actually comes back to the game. But I think right now, all of those wingers, like look at the top 6 teams in the Premier League right now. Saka and Martinelli for Arsenal, they are too direct. Rashford, Garnacho are too direct for us. You look at Cody Gakpo, you look at the likes of Luis Diaz. Both of them, they are too direct as well. City are leaning in that direction as well with Savio, Doku, and Foden when he's playing out wide too. Foden actually started
in the Euros. Nico Williams, Lamella, very direct.
Yeah. All of these players, they're heading in that direction. So it's not much of a surprise for me.
No. We're going to discuss pressing, work rate, and the kind of ugly stuff of the winger game in a moment. I'm just going to go to the comments. Alex saying Shreyas is back. Someone's very, very happy to see you on the show. Dan Fenton saying, hi, Nick and Shreyas. Hope you well. Thank you very much for that, mate. Liam Jones saying, hi, guys. I appreciate the response to me saying hi. I've had a lot of tough day today. It means a lot. Well, I hope you're okay, Liam. I know you didn't mean caps. It's okay. I know you were going, I've had a tough day. That's, in caps like that. Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I hope you're okay, though. Genuinely. Ivan Kasule says, hi. Hello, Ivan. Let us know where you're watching from. Minit Kaur says, hey. Also, let us know where you're watching from. I've got a sneaky suspicion some of these are Shreyas cult followers. But, yeah, anyone is welcome. Ahmad on the right, Xerxes up top, Garnacho on the left. We're better with a striker up top. The problem with Mount being on the pitch with Bruno, they can't play together on the pitch. It doesn't work. That's very interesting. We'll discuss that dynamic shortly. But yeah, pressing, that's a combination between pressing and defensive. Pressing and defensive work rate, Shreyas. Which front three do you think, or combination do you believe provides enough pressing intensity and cover when we're going back? If you used to pick a three just purely for that, who would you go for?
I'd go Garnacho from the left. Yeah. I'd go Højlund. And I'd go Ahmad on the right. Or if not Ahmad, I'd put Mount on the right. Or Antony. Just defensive work rate wise.
It's Antony, innit? It's Antony, Garnacho, Højlund. The hardest working three, exactly. I would say.
They're the hardest workers on the pitch. And as much as I hate Antony, there's just one side to his game that I really appreciate is that when he's on and you want cover for your right back, when you're coming up against, I remember that game we had against Arsenal when we went away to their stadium in the first end of the season last year. And I think it was Martinelli or Saka who came up against him, and he had Dalot beside him. And he does help in locking these sort of wingers down. But as a whole and as what a team actually would want from a winger, he's not able to excel in those areas where you want that winger to be direct or make the right decision in the right time. But defensively, he's still, work rate wise, you can never question Antony's work rate. But I would say Ahmad is growing into that role. I think it will still take him time actually to be positionally aware as to where he needs to be when we lose out on the ball. But when it comes to moving forward, when it comes to creating chances, he's one of the best wingers that we've got at the club. Garnacho works like a dog on that left-hand side or right-hand side, wherever he's playing. And Højlund as well. Work rate is immense on the pitch whenever he is up.
There was a little report actually about Garnacho. I think Chris Wheeler put it out in the mail before. He's doing extra work at Carrington to try, bulk up a little bit, get a bit more strength to his game. Because I think if he does that, obviously you can't really work on being quicker, can you? You're just as quick as you are, really. You can be a little bit lighter on the feet, I suppose. But the fact he's doing these extra work bits, taking inspiration from Cristiano Ronaldo, I would only imagine. It's a weird situation, isn't it? Because I think you can debate and argue balance in many different areas with this, as we already have. But Garnacho, for me, is someone that he needs to start. He needs to be on that pitch, I think, because he blends quite a lot of the bits, like Antony's work rate, for example, Rashford's directness. But he can play at times as well. I think he can improve on that, but he can play. So he is someone I think needs to be in there, and I think he's got so much room for growth, considering he's only 19 years old. There's years and years and years to work with him there. Like, imagine what he's like by the time he's 25. It's pretty frightening.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all know that he's got immense potential. We all know what he can actually be capable of if he stays on this trajectory that he's on. And just as the age of 19, if someone just goes through the highlight of the goals that he scored up until now, overhead kicks, volleys, just banging into his first ever game, goal actually came off from a Cristiano Ronaldo assist, the player he actually idolizes. So you can see all the hints.
That
yeah.
Goal.
Yeah. So you can see all the hints for him to actually, go on the type of path that we actually expect him to actually go on. Whenever he's on the pitch, he's on a live wire. Like he might be, even when he's having a rough game, he might lose on duels, might lose out on the ball 10 to 11
He's
times.
He's a dog.
His relentlessness, he'll still, come back up. He'll still go on and he'll, run at the defender the 12th time. That's why, people actually like him, because he just doesn't give up whenever he's on the pitch. He gives his absolute all on the pitch. And I think the moment he becomes just a bit more, clinical when it comes to finishing off his chances, he's going to be a menace for any backline that's going to be coming up against him, because he's got the pace, he's got the skills, he's got that mentality as well of a winger that you would want to actually have. Because we can even see if Rashford has a dull 45 minutes, his head actually drops. You can expect, you expect the type of game that Rashford will actually have if he doesn't actually click in the first 45. With Garnacho, he makes things happen. Even with Ahmad, I would say whenever both of these guys are on the pitch, they make things happen.
Because sometimes, sorry, go on.
I think the moment both of them just work on their finish, I think they've got the best person to actually work with in Ruud van Nistelrooy now. I think he's someone who can get the best out of these wingers. He knows how to get the best out of these sort of players, and with that sort of a mentor, I think I expect a very big season from Garnacho this year. I think Ahmad might have a bit of a hiccup in between, but I still expect that he'll have a big breakthrough year this season, because I think for any young winger having that first full season where he's a starter, I think Ahmad will take some time to acclimatize to that sort of pressure. I think he'll come through with it, but it'll take some time. But Garnacho, I think he might end up being that, leader of the attack this year. I think he's got all the traits for that to happen.
And the one line we always say on the show as well is competition breeds success. So if you have someone like Ahmad pushing you, like Garnacho, for example, or Rashford, that's one thing, one topic I wanted to cover was the fact that you can't have favouritism because it will destroy growth. I think with last season, sometimes it was worried because we had no one else to fill in there. We had Forson or whoever it was who was coming in and was doing okay, but, wouldn't really stand out. So now I think if Rashford has a couple of bad games, how long are you going to rely on this credit in the bank from your first season for him to turn up? I want to see him dropped in maybe not the next game. Maybe he was okay. I think Ahmad actually had a worse game potentially because I didn't think he could get into it. First 10-15 was rushing things a little bit. Sorry, after the first 10-15. Yeah, Robinson's he's a good fullback. But my point is when Garnacho comes on, he challenges him and he looks better. So based on that, you're like, okay, well, Rashford, Garnacho start the next game. If Rashford has a stinker, move Garnacho over to the left-hand side and then bring Ahmad back in. Because against City, Ahmad was good. But against Fulham, I was a little bit like, I don't know, I was 50-50. So
I think it'll take him some time. I think he'll come through. It'll still take him some time, though. I think, once again, his first ever season as a starter, starting his first game, I would say, at the start of the season now for Fulham. Fulham are a tough side, I would say, and Robinson is a very competent fullback. Like if it came through, I would want him at United right now as a left back. So he's a very competent defender, and Ahmad had a bit of a rough game, but still, whenever he was on the ball, he looked a bit more flary. He looked a bit more charged up. Rashford, his body language is just not giving me that sort of a vibe that he's completely at it. I think once his body language actually turns a bit more positive, if he's able to open up a bit more on the pitch, express himself more freely on the pitch, there's never a doubt about Rashford being good enough for United. He's shown it. He has the capability to be good enough for United. The only problem is not consistent enough with his performance to be at that level for United. That's the only problem with Marcus Rashford.
My issue with Rashford is when he doesn't have to think about things and we are transitional, it's a little bit chaotic, he can thrive off that at times.
Yeah.
But when we have possession and, like you said, it's a low block and he's got to think a little bit, he's got to be a bit creative, sometimes I'm like, he struggles, man. He seems to get very clouded in his head and don't know, the right pass to play. Whereas you look at City, it's systematic. They just know when to play that, if a fullback's overlapping, they know when to dink it into him. Or if someone's, underlapping, they know when to cut back. Like, they just have that system set out. And Rashford, I suppose not having a consistent wing back behind you doesn't help. So I think if Luke Shaw was fit, is what I'm saying, for like the majority of the season, I think you would see it, obviously a big if. I think you would see a better Marcus Rashford. So I'm interested to see how
Will
he
he
cracks
ever
on.
be fit though? Will he
No,
ever
he won't.
be
He
fit?
won't. He won't. Yeah, I think we've established that.
Yeah.
You can't put faith in him. So that left side, I still think will have its issues. But I'd rather have Dalot there than Wan-Bissaka all day.
Do you think in the longer picture this season, we might see Dalot being a starter left back and Mazraoui being a starter right back as a long-term future for this project?
To be honest, I look at Mazraoui's game at right back against Fulham. How can you not start him there? He was fucking unbelievable. He was really, really good. Man of the match, arguably. So you stick with that for now. But like I said, I don't want to get too high on Mazraoui simply because I know there's going to be tougher tests coming up. I know he's going to play a Saka or something like that. Not Saka, because obviously it's the time. But Son, Martinelli, these kind of wingers. It's going to be tough. Yeah. So who played on left wing for Fulham? No idea, right?
Yeah.
No, that's because he didn't do fuck all. He did nothing. I don't know who played there.
No. Traore from the
Traore was on the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he didn't do anything. He was
locked down. The only reason I remember Traore is because Lisandro sent him to drops.
Yeah. So, look, I think Mazraoui's had a good start, but it's very, very early yet. But I do think that kind of leads to the next point about overlapping fullbacks. That's something that needs to happen, because if we were discussing so many players going centrally, having Mount, Bruno, Kobe, Casemiro, and then the wingers tucking in as well, you need Mazraoui and Dalot to hold that width at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you become very predictable.
If you're being hit on the counter, and even Mazraoui and Dalot are tucked in, it's open season for any Premier League team.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let me go to the comments, because I don't want to neglect them for too long, but there's quite a bit to kind of dig into there. Sure. Liam Jones says, personally, I disagree with the idea that Pep is a revolutionary. I play FM Football Manager, and after 8 years, I could play any formation with the best players and will win. Love it, Liam. I'll pin that comment. That's going straight to the top. Punch Paint's in the chat. Big up Punch Paint, saying we have to get Rashford firing again, and if that means starting him, considering it's the beginning of the season, we have to be starting Rashford. I don't agree with it, but he's already showing gains. Mate, I predicted him to be one of the top goal scorers for United, so yeah. If he kicks into gear, but he also should drop.
If he's on it, if he's back in form, we all know what's going to happen when Marcus Rashford is off.
Rude will improve the goal scoring and also be aware of when to expect the ball in the box, which should be always. I think you saw that with Hoyland, didn't you? Even in pre-season, the goal he scored.
Xerxes' goal was a true testament of that run actually being made into the box by spreading the ball right.
Absolutely. Liam saying, imagine the TalkSport or ESPN when United played Raphael and Fabio as wingers and beat Arsenal. T2 Izzo, hi guys, late to the party. The reason that so few teams cross the ball now is down to XG. Crosses means a first time finish or header a lower XG than, say, a cutback. Fantastic point. Yeah, I understand why they do it, but it's the nostalgic kind of football fan in me wants crosses into the box. You know, like a David Beckham. You know what I mean?
You want those rebound volleys.
Yeah.
You want those...
rather than just pass it into the net like City do. Yeah. You want a good old cross and a fucking, get your head on it. But I understand the concept of why they do it. It's Pep again. Dalot is not great at left back. He hesitates to put crosses in with his left. His overlapping on left is limited. Everything we heard about Mazraoui is that he can play both. Yeah, maybe he will play different tactical setups. Like I said, Mazraoui will definitely play some games at left back, but I liked him at right back.
There's one thing though, whenever Dalot plays on from the left, he becomes much more of a goal scoring threat. Like whenever he's played on from a left back, he scored that banger against Sheffield last year.
Yeah.
He scored that goal against Brighton last year as well, when we went away to the stadium. So he becomes much more of a goal scoring threat, I think, naturally, when he plays left back. On from the right, I think he impacts the game a lot more, because I think attacking wise, probably one of our best fullbacks at the club right now, Diogo Dalot.
Yeah. Just the last thing on this front five. Obviously, the way we're setting up, very aggressive, high press, counter press, kind of transitional. With the setup we've got, if we are doing that 4-2-2, and let's say, I don't know, Bruno and Mount start the game again, there's even more pressure now on the wingers to deliver in there with that. Like, so you'd expect, you need Garnacho, Ahmad, Rashford, all these guys to really chip in, or you could have it, you could struggle in the season.
Of course, I think the thing is, when you play these sort of formations, you want your wingers are your main goal scoring threat when you play these sort of formations. And the biggest issue that we've got right now is when it comes to finishing off our chances. I think against Fulham, we created a bunch of good chances. I think centrally we pressed very, very well. I think Fulham, we were able to box them out of the game after the first 20 to 25 minutes, which was really good to see. But when it comes to, I think the thing is, and we've said it a lot of times on the show as well, the moment you get that one extra goal, the entire outlook of the game changes. Like if Bruno got those 2 goals that he missed against Leno in that game, and we were 2-0 up after the first 35 to 40 minutes, the entire complexion of the game absolutely changes. You would see Fulham actually progressing a lot more and going for it. A lot more spaces actually opening up on the behind, and then you would see Rashford actually having a much better game because spaces in behind is something Marcus Rashford actually thrives on throughout his career. So I just think that one extra goal or that one extra moment, it just completely changes the whole direction of the game altogether. And I think once we actually start being a lot more clinical, a lot more, I would say, smarter with the options that we actually get in the start of the game, I think United will look a much better side. We'll have much better games when you look at it from a whole 90 perspective.
A lot of room for improvement. I can't wait to see how we play in in the next couple of games. Some big tests coming up as well. Like we've got Liverpool, of course, after Brighton. I think we've got Palace away, which we struggled with last season. We've got Villa, I think, in the next kind of 5 games. So yeah, it's gonna do or die in that sense. Yeah, your connection went a little bit then, but I think it's okay now. You're absolutely fine and smooth and running, so we're all good. Right. From wingers to Jadon Sancho, Laurie Whitwell put something out earlier on today, which had been sourced by quite a few other people, but I didn't really trust it until you get this kind of solid one who obviously has ties with the show. Sorry, ties with United, not with this show. I wish he had ties with this show. We had an exclusive. Sancho is a live situation with United asking for £40 million. Some at the club sense that Chelsea may make an approach. So this is legit news. How, why, where, when, who, what is going on with Chelsea? They've just signed João Felix for £45 million. Where would Sancho even play? Like, it's baffling, isn't it?
I'll be really honest. I'll be genuinely very honest. I expect Chelsea to finish 11th or 12th this season.
It's crazy.
I'm not even kidding.
But is that not mad to say though? Like because of the talent that they have, and the youngsters that they have, with pure talent, they shouldn't be finishing there. But because of squad morale and the depth of the squad, that's the worry, isn't it?
I think when you look at that team, you've got no leaders, you've got no experience, and even if you look at the older profiles at that club, like if you look at Nkunku, he's barely got any experience in the Premier League. He's still acclimatizing to it. It's a very young squad. I would say, a very unproven manager on top of that. He can be very naive. I just don't think that it's the right fit. And with the way they are actually signing players, I just don't think it's the right answer to the problems that Chelsea have right now. Chelsea's biggest issue right now is stability. And I think they're making it worse by signing player after player after player. What good reason do you have to actually have 9 or 8 goalkeepers at your club within one season itself? You've got 12 to 13 midfielders. You've got Pedro Neto. Now you've signed Felix. You've already got Madueke. Mudryk you spent 100 million on. Nico Jackson already you're trying to get an Osimhen, but it wouldn't work because you need chemistry. You need that morale in the squad to actually work. The reason it works at City is because they've got a good blend of experience and a good blend of talent. If they've got Doku, they've also got players like De Bruyne. They've also got players like Bernardo Silva, for players to actually learn off from and actually, be accustomed to the system that they're playing in. Chelsea have no system. They just have profiles. They just have players who are supposed to be the next big thing. But none of them, barring Cole Palmer, none of them have actually, put their foot to the pedal and actually shown something that, people can be excited about.
I thought it was funny last night. I was watching Monday Night Football, and Jamie Carragher, he said about Neto, he was like, why have they signed him? Where is he going to play? He'll struggle to get a spot even in the dressing room. He might have to change into a different thing. That's what he said. And then when they made the predictions, his impact signing was Pedro Neto. And I was like, how the fuck does that work? That's the biggest fucking contradiction I've ever seen. Yeah, you forget about players like Neto as well. Obviously, Palmer's going to play on the right for the majority. He just got a contract extension. It's nuts what they're doing there. I was listening to my mate Sky Cavi before talk about Chelsea are actually quite happy with this contract thing that they're doing. and they're getting like big chunky contracts extended over 7 to 10 years. It's only bonus incentivized, and the average Premier League wage is around 80k, I think, a week, and they're getting them all on like 100 odd, whatever it is. So they're not big in terms of 250, 300, but that's how they're doing it, and then kind of incentivize. I don't know. It's utter madness.
If they want Sancho, I would say if they want Sancho, I'll be ready for a swap deal. Like, give us Cole Palmer, I'm happily taking him.
They're never ever. I mean, they're stupid, but they're not that stupid. Well, I wish they was, because I'd take Cole Palmer in a heartbeat. But yeah, if it was isolated and Chelsea hadn't got as many players as he has, and Maresca wanted Sancho, I'd understand it. Possession-based team, combinations, it makes sense to me.
You want players who are good on the ball.
Sancho, if you're sat there as a player and you're going to say, I want game time, I want to be on the pitch, Chelsea's the last move you'd make. Because look at Sterling, look at Madueke, look at... You know what I mean?
I would say, look, for any manager who starts in the Premier League, their first biggest test is to actually figure out their best 11 and start to play that best 11 actually, 4 to 5, weeks in a row. What is Chelsea's best 11? I don't even know if the manager actually knows how many players he's actually got at the club. Pochettino forgot about 5 players that were signed to Chelsea last season, that they even existed at the club. He didn't even know that those players existed at the club. And now they've signed 8 to 10 players more. You can't even figure out a best 11 with Chelsea right now. And the thing that we even said for a long period of time is how many of these players would, play for a top 6 club. Barring Cole Palmer, I see no one in that Chelsea team who I would say that, can start for any team in the Premier League.
It's based off youth and development and thinking they can turn into these world-class players. Because if they have Lavia, Caicedo, Palmer, Enzo, all these young stars, Nicola Jackson, if you want to call him a star, that they can grow into, £150 million players. But like I said, the issue is when you have such a big squad, it's hard to keep everyone happy. People are moaning, kicking up before Sterling, making statements before games. I just don't... I said after the City game on Saturday, was it? That they sold Kovacic for 30 mil to City, and he had a better performance than the £250 million midfield that they've already got.
Absolutely anger against them as well.
Yeah, so...
Game. Ran to the midfield and scored the goal.
I think,
even we said it a lot of times. You need experienced heads around these young heads to actually get the best out of them.
Yeah. Thiago Silva, for example, but he's gone now, isn't he?
Yeah. The reason it works so well for Madrid is because players like Valverde, players like Bellingham, they've had players like Kroos and Modric to actually learn off from the absolute greats.
And Carvajal, and
Carvajal,
experienced players.
Even Nacho, I would say. As a figure in that dressing room, he was absolutely immense. Vinny and Rodrigo had Benzema to actually learn off from in that attack. So you need that sort of experience in that line to actually get the best out of it. That's the reason why I actually wanted Casemiro to stay at the club, because the kind of experience he brings and the way he can help players like Ugarte, the player, like Menu, Collier, it is something that no other player in his position can actually do. That's why I loved that we signed De Ligt, because he's, I would say, the only profile of a centre-back who gives you experience as well as youth with the way that he's worked under players. He worked under Cellini, Bonucci, even at, I would say, Van Dijk, in the Netherlands squad as well. So he's worked with the absolute greats in that department. And you need, I would say, you need that sort of blend of experience and youth, especially in the Premier League, for it to work.
Mick Millens just said Sancho waking up late for training in games at Chelsea would not be an issue. He can miss games without any issue. Maybe that's why he wants to move. Always thinking beyond the lines there, McMillan. Love that. Right, onto a more kind of serious situation, and again we can glaze over this. We don't need to spend long on it. The Sao Paulo police have concluded their assault case against Antony without indicting him of domestic violence charges. They did not find sufficient evidence, but the investigation currently undergoing in England is yet to be complete. And this was something he touched on in an interview, I think, Shreyas. He was talking about how it was distracting him for the season. Obviously, it's a big weight, pressure from other fans, and da-da-da. Do you think maybe with this off his back, is that an excuse? But not an excuse. I don't know how to phrase this. I want to be kind of sensitive about the whole thing. But is that a thing to say, yeah, that's enough to distract him from reaching a level? Like, how much can that drag a player down, I suppose is the question I'm asking.
Look, it can destroy a player at times as well, because the way mental health works, the way, sometimes it gets to a limit where people are just not able to, actually function the way they should, or actually, be able to express themselves the way they should. And I would say for an athlete, it becomes a bit more tough because not only are you dealing with things in your personal lives, when you're not performing well on the pitch, things on social media cannot actually help you because players, fans, and these pundits are absolutely going to have a go at you. And Antony is already a very controversial figure at United with the kind of price tag he came with the kind of expectations that people have actually had from him. So he's been target number one ever since that he's come in. So to add to that, his personal life, I would say, problems that have happened, it can take a hit on any player, and it's only human because these players at the end of the day as well, they've got a human body, they are going to also process things the way they can. But the only thing is, when it comes to your performances on the pitch, people don't actually take these things into consideration.
Yeah.
Even if they do after a point, it just doesn't.
It has to affect a player, innit? It has to affect him.
It definitely does. And the thing is, I would have said he should have probably just taken some time off, genuinely. And Ten Hag is that sort of a figure who actually helps out his players in those sort of situations. He helped Jadon Sancho have like a 7-week leave when he was actually not in the best his best space of mind. And I think if he would have taken this step, Ten Hag would have genuinely supported him as much as he possibly have. The problem is the performances that he had and the way he became as frustrating as he did on the pitch. It just rubbed United fans in the wrong way.
Do you see him any kind of renaissance for him at all?
I've seen Harry Maguire come back from the dead. Yeah. I've seen McTominay come back from the dead.
Casemiro maybe back from the dead.
Casemiro is probably on that trajectory, but look, anything can happen in football.
Give me a percentage.
I would say 30 to 70. I think 70% chance work out. 30% chance it can still work because I still expect him to actually get minutes because Ten Hag is the manager. I still expect him to get regular minutes. And sometimes with players, we saw it with Fred as well. When you gave him 30-minute cameos, he can look like a very decent player because he brings on a lot of energy off the bench. As a starter, he's not. Maybe he can be that cameo figure for us. Comes off. If you want to close the game down, you're 2-0 up. Bring on Antony on the right-hand side and just close that right flank altogether.
Yeah.
The only thing is, as a starter, if you expect him, like in that interview, he said that Antony's name will be once again linked back to goals and assists this season. That's not. I would say, look, that's not going to happen. I have made my peace with that fact. As much as I want it to happen, look, if it works out and he becomes that sort of a player that people expected him to be, I would be more than happy. I want every player at United to actually succeed. But I just don't see it happening for him as a starting figure who becomes the leader in that sort of attack. I just don't see it happening. I think Ahmad will be making that position his own this season.
What do we think, chat? Because I know a couple of you have already mentioned Antony saying, I won't be surprised if he came back into the team or he had a good season. Because I think that debut sold us an absolute dream, by the way. Like, scoring against Arsenal, all that with the badge and that, it was like,
first have a player here. He scored 3 goals. First 3 games, he scored 3 goals. And all we thought was that finally we signed the correct right winger who can actually, this is worth it. It's going to be money well spent. When he's out of the team, we lose that spark. That was the words that were being spoken after the first 4 to 5 games that he had.
I've just put the Antony picture on the screen. The stare when he's.
I think it was against Arsenal. He was going to, the memes that have come out that Antony is only 3 goals away from a hat-trick every single game, the aura that he brings to that team.
It's just that you look at that, he's like, he thinks he's going to do absolute damage in that game, doesn't he? He's sat on the sideline thinking, I can't wait to come on and cause a ruckus, mate. Like, oh my God. Yeah, overall on the sideline, amazing. But in terms of performances on the pitch, no way near good enough. Let's remove that off the thing. Right, to the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Dan Fenton, I call bullshit with Sancho going to Chelsea. Can't see it happening. We have to consider it though. When Laurie Whitwell's putting it out there must be something in the air. If
he goes and we can get a left back, please make it happen.
Yes. Liam Jones saying, why are they stockpiling number 10s and not a striker? Well, apparently they're in for Victor Osimhen, which has a domino effect on us, because if Napoli sell Osimhen, they will use some of the funds from that to buy McTominay, as far as I'm aware. So hopefully they do go and buy him, but that seems like a very difficult deal to do. Have you noticed, Shreyas, with Napoli, they'll say, look, Koulibaly, if you want to buy him, 120 million. Or
Yeah.
Osman, 140 million. McTominay, we haven't got 20 million to pay. You know what I mean? Like, fuck off.
Kvaratskhelia, 150 million.
Yeah. Like, absolute bullshit. McMillan, Sancho waking up late. Oh, sorry, I've already read that out. That was a cracker. It's 50-50. Brazil is off his back, but he still has to answer to Manchester police, so still conclude. Still be a distraction. Yeah, it's a good point. Personally, I'm rooting for Antony to get ahead of it and focus. Darren Ferguson, after that IBS issue he had, he literally came back from the dead. Jesus Christ. I wish I didn't read that out now, but fair play. I have to read these before I think. Sancho needs to go ASAP because he's not good enough. Not good if we get a good price. I think Antony's a modern day Adnan Januzaj and believes he's better than he actually is. Yeah. Antony, if he took time off of that, would look like he was criminally in the wrong.
Januzaj is a blast from the past.
Yeah, I get all the points you're making very, very valid. But let's just go past this because you get into sticky webs and you have to start. Yeah. So on to Hannibal, Shreyas. We had some news earlier on today from very credible journalist that Burnley are interested in signing Hannibal Mabry and are exploring a permanent deal or a loan with an obligation to buy, but United's preference would be to sell him on a permanent. How much should we try and get for Hannibal, and is that a good signing, do you think, for Burnley?
I think he's a championship level player right now. I don't think that he's a Premier League quality proven player right now. Maybe he becomes that in the future, no doubt. Some players do make it actually make it big in their careers while playing from clubs who are not Manchester United. We've seen it with Andres Pereira. He's gone to Fulham. He's actually had made quite a name for himself there. Maybe Hannibal, a couple of seasons in the Championship with Burnley, can turn it around and probably play for a Palace or I would even say a West Ham someday. Maybe he can rise up to that level. But right now, I don't understand what his best position is on the pitch. Whether he's a 10, whether an 8, whether he's a winger. I don't know, barring energy, what his true style of play or profile actually is. So there are a lot of doubts to his game, and I think with the way you've got midfielders at the club coming through from the academy right now, you've got players like Collier coming through, you've got Kobe Mainoo, who I would say is a specimen of a player that we've got right now. Like I'm absolutely sure that he's going to make it big in his career. So Hannibal is nowhere near both of those guys. I would say Collier is still a bit raw, but even when you actually see him play, you know what he's all about and what he can bring to the game. With Hannibal, you just never know. All you know is he's going to 2-footer player whenever he's going to come on.
Oh yeah. Passion. That's what I mean. A bit of a passionate merchant. I remember. I don't know if it was a pre-season game or an actual game last season where he did something and he was like cheering to the fans to try and rile them up. And I don't mind that, but if you do that, if you're captain, if you've kept a clean sheet, or you know what I'm saying, like there's a time and a place for it. Wish you all the best. Like the majority of players,
around 7 or 8 million would be a good deal for us.
Like we got for Pellistri basically, but there is a sell-on clause with Pellistri. I think it's 40 to 50%. Not 50 million, I wish. So yeah, obviously if he does succeed, then we'll get a big chunk back like we do for Greenwood.
I wish there was a buyback in his deal.
Well, yeah, who knows? Stranger things have happened. We brought Ronaldo back, didn't we? And that seemed like it was never ever going to happen. So it could happen. The last thing I wanted to discuss, Shreyas, is from Mike McGrath, who's putting United a brace for offers for players before the end of the window. They expect some outgoings, like quite a few. So who do we think will be sold? Victor Lindelof, Eriksen, McTominay, Hannibal.
Lindelof can't go now since he's injured.
What injuries he got? Do you know?
I think he's got a calf injury.
Is it a calf?
What I've heard. I think it's a calf injury, and
all right.
If you want to offload a centre back, that's not the best injury to actually have it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So, do you want a Swedish centre back with one leg? No. All right, no worries. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I think Lindelof might end up staying. I don't see him leaving. I think all the defenders that we've got right now will end up staying at the club right now. I don't see any defenders actually moving on. I think Maguire will stay. I think Evans will stay. All of these guys are going to stay. When it comes to the midfield, it's
Eriksen
still a bit tricky.
So Ajax 5 mil is rumours.
I'm hearing rumours, but I'm not seeing anything concrete. The only concrete stuff I heard was during the start of the window that he's very close to leaving, and Turkish clubs are very interested in actually signing Christian Eriksen. But every single thing about it has actually died out. So maybe Eriksen actually ends up staying as well. McTominay, I'm still a bit hopeful that he might actually go, because he's still got offers from multiple clubs and he wants to make a move happen to Napoli. So, maybe by the time this window ends, McTominay might be on his way out. Attack-wise, I don't see anyone leaving, like genuinely.
It seems like there's a lot of clubs at the minute who are just waiting for the end of the window to get some business
Yeah,
done.
and look,
to
people
save
can be
money.
hopeful about Jadon Sancho leaving the club. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening.
I think with the wages that he's got and with the amount of fee that United would actually expect to leave, actually let him leave, I don't think that any club would come up with it at the moment. I just don't think it happens. I think he'll stay. Maybe he has a good season. Maybe he's sold on next year. But I think this year, the only figure that I see actually leaving the club right now is McTominay. That's it. No one else.
Yeah. And even that, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, because Napoli need to sell, and then the other clubs that are interested are putting in like £13 million offers. And you're never ever going to accept that. You'd rather just keep him. Right, back to the comments.
How is it possible that we're getting 13 and 15 million offers for McTominay? West Ham had a player called Flynn Downs last year, and he went to Southampton this year for 31 million.
Look at any of the market Shreyas, Oliver Skip, Smith Rowe, all these kind of level of caliber of players. Even Thuram from, I think, Nice signed for Juventus for like 20 million or something. Like, that kind of market dictates it, and McTominay's in that bracket. 10 goals from midfield last season. Could be a coach's delight, never ever injured. If someone's telling me that he ain't worth 25 mil in today's market, you're smoking something.
Easily worth 25 to 30 mil.
Easily. Right. I'm going to go to the comments. If you have any questions for me and Shreyas, any topics you want to debate, get them in the chat. And for the last 5 minutes, we will discuss them. Well, I think we've covered quite a majority there. Yeah. Liam Jones saying, the thing is, if Antony took... Oh, already read that out. Sorry. I think Antony's... Sorry, read that out. I keep reading comments. Manchester United is a heavyweight for most players, and you have to have a certain personality to make it. Punch Paint saying, Hannibal's hair is amazing, though, can't lie. I'm peanut butter and jealous. That's a saying I've never heard before. I'm peanut butter and jealous. That's all right, that.
If you haven't heard it, there's no way I would have heard it.
Yeah. That's true. Good point. Ericsson isn't slowly running away from 150k per week. Yeah, you have to question, do they want game time, or are they just happy to be a bit part player and come on? Because let's be honest, being at United as a sub's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
Yeah, with the way things came out last year, though, even he came out personally and said that it's not an issue about the club or the money. I want to play regularly for the club. I want to be involved. Because McTominay and when Menu came through, Casemiro, Menu and Bruno was at go-to midfield. And even when we used to change, it used to be McTominay. Ericsson didn't get any minutes at the last, in the final stages of the season last year. So, look, maybe he ends up leaving because this is the final year of his contract. He goes on a free next year.
Yeah. First, I thought shrewd signing. First year we got him, he was actually pretty good. But then from then on, just physically, just can't keep
Since he got that injury in our first season, he was just never the same player.
Yeah. Andy Carroll, was it? Reading? In the cup?
Yeah.
Atrocious. Don't see De Ligt starting against Brighton. He's aggressive and was run past a few times in his cameo on Friday. Think he needs to watch how Maguire and Leach work, temper his aggression. Interesting take. Dan saying De Ligt's a top defender, world class. Him and Martinez on Saturday. Let's go Maguire. Fourth place for me. I think it would be harsh on Maguire to drop him. Just the last thing to kind of push out there. I think Maguire was very good against Fulham. Yeah. The best centre back on the pitch, arguably.
I'm the hero of that game.
Yeah. So do you drop him or?
Look, we've got Liverpool coming up soon. So if De Ligt isn't sharp enough for that game, and we start Maguire in that game.
You can already see the headlines, can't you, with that one?
If you see Salah running at him in that game, in those counter-attacking scenarios, we know the script. We've seen it on a lot of occasions. I would start De Ligt in that game. I would genuinely would, because I want him to be absolutely raring to go for that.
Do you think Liverpool?
He would. Look, he's dropped when it comes to bringing in his own players to the team. He's made that calls every single time. He got Antony. I think we signed Antony on a weekend, and it was 2 games to the Arsenal game.
Yeah, Sancho as well started pretty quick, then it integrated straight away.
Yeah, and look, I think De Ligt will work out. I think he's a quality player. So, and you would love to have a partnership of De Ligt and Lisandro in a derby. They're the best players to have around.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I think temperament, captaincy, leadership, like everything in De Ligt and Sancho, you'll absolutely have that. The one thing that is just keeps ticking in the back of my mind with De Ligt is how, because I've watched him quite a bit now when I'm doing like analysis videos, how touch tight it gets to players sometimes. And when you come up against like a Gabriel Jesus or a striker who's pretty nimble and nifty, I think he could struggle. And I think he could get caught out, especially playing such a high line. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think actually the rest of his abilities, aerially quite good, really good on the ball.
He's very good.
Yeah, he's good at duels, very, very good.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of times in the Champions League for Bayern where I think it actually was Gabriel Jesus who kind of got underneath him, through the legs. That's something to keep an eye on. So he's going to have to keep up. But he's got years to grow into that, hasn't he? He's 25.
He's got a good partner to work with.
Yeah, so he's not 30, you know what I mean? He'll adapt, hopefully, and could turn out to be a mega, mega signing. But let's wait and see. I mean, we are going to do the preview probably on Thursday for the Brighton game. So make sure you come and join us for that. Apart from that, we'll have the members video that we dropped yesterday, I think it was. That will be open to all public viewers tomorrow, probably around 10 o'clock. There'll be a 12 o'clock live show. And then Friday night, I think we've got that voice notes thing. So anyone, I forgot to mention it, anyone who wants to send a hot take, like an opinion, controversial opinion, whether it's on United or Premier League football or whatever it is, send it to realredstalk99@gmail.com and we will play them out on a show. And me, Shreyas, Sam, whoever it is who's on the show at the time, will react to it. So yeah, I'll put the
review those voice notes before we actually play them.
Yeah, of course, because we know with our community there's going to be.
If Sean sends something in.
Yeah, if Sean sends something in, it's going to be something probably rude. So yeah, anyone who was asking about that, because some people were saying, I'm going to get some of my mates who are big United Reds as well. They're going to send some stuff in, so should make it a fun, interesting show on Friday. Make sure you come and join us for that. But apart from that, subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video, check us out on socials, Instagram, Sam's doing a wonderful job on there, TikTok, myself, and then Twitter for the community. Do check us out if you don't follow us, and enjoy the rest of your day. No football now for, God, a few days, innit? What, till Saturday afternoon?
Absolute bummer.
Oh, it's that, because we had so much. We had an overload of football from Friday to Monday. Now I'm like,
and we ended up winning the first game.
I know. Crazy times. Yeah, what a good place to leave it. Thank you, everyone.